So this is my first day on my friend's Minecraft server, and Taken, this server has been around for about 2 years now. So everyone is super geared up and has built a whole lot. So there's a ton for me to see and explore. But my main goal in today's video is to gather resources for a build that I want to make. In the meantime, you guys can sit here and listen to some of the most diabolical Reddit stories I have heard in my entire life. Starting off, me and my wife have been together for nearly 5 years now. We were high school sweethearts, went against our parents' better judgment when we ran off and got married fresh out of high school. Okay, quick pause. That's quite an age to make such an irrational decision because take in the average person who graduates high school, so grade 12 going into college or university, is about 18, maybe 19 years old. So I really doubt you're financially stable at that point, but you know, anyways, what can you do, right? We were young and dumb, but hey, I was financially stable enough to support us, get us a nice little double wild trailer on the outskirts of town, put food on the table, keep cable on the TV, that sort of thing. She knew it wasn't forever. She knew that I'd keep my promise and get us an actual house, put us somewhere nice. An HOA neighborhood without the HOA. I think her pregnancy scared her. I mean, she was only 20. Of course it scared her. But when we found out we were having twins, that's when she really started to slip off the deep end. So these people are living in a trailer. Their parents hate them because they skedaddled that fast. And now they have twins. That is truly unfortunate. I blamed it on the pregnancy at first. Her mood swings, those violent bursts of anger, and frustration right before tears started to stream down her face. But when the symptoms progressed even after giving birth, they became harder to just ignore. We got the best of both worlds, a little boy named Jackson and our sweet little Roxanne. I can't even describe it. It was like she hated them. She'd scream at them when they cried, just get in their faces and scream for them to shut up at the top of her lungs. Countless fights were started solely because I tried to calm her down during her routine fits. That's when her anger became more focused on me. And look, I get it, okay? Don't have him if you can't support him. I love those kids, and I will never call them mistakes. God's plan is what they were. Even still, they were two new mouths to feed. I think that's what bothered my wife so much. Her hopes of an actual home had just been pushed back by a significant margin. Quote unquote, you need to ask for a raise. You need to ask for a promotion. You need to look for another job. So I am assuming this is him inferring the root of her odd behavior due to her constant demand for readjustment when it comes to finances. Okay. Her words rattled around in my head like loose sticks of dynamite. I knew I needed to step up. I knew that this couldn't be our life forever. I started working double shifts, leaving my wife home to take care of the kids. 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and still, it wasn't enough. My cash of savings was hardly even touching $1,000, and I was slowly killing myself. My wife wasn't doing too well either. I think the constant childcare may have been taking a bit of a toll on her. She was looking more and more exhausted every day. Her hair was constantly a mess, and her eye bags looked to weigh at least 20 pounds each. I wanted to take over. I wanted to give her a night out, but I couldn't. I was working constantly. All of my money was going straight towards bills, food, and college funds. God, I can't even say I was surprised when I came home today to find the house eerily silent. No cries, no screams, no laughter. Just long, agonizing silence. "Honey," I called out. "Down here, darling." Her voice was coming from the basement. She sounded more chipper than usual, but not exactly in the most pleasant of ways. It was an unhinged kind of delight, like she was overcompensating for something. I made my way to the top of the stairs, where I found two distinct streaks of blood leading down each step. The sounds of chains and locks echoed from somewhere in the basement. I reached the bottom step and found my wife standing beneath a single overhead light that illuminated both her and the suspiciously stained meat freezer. Chains wrapped twice around the thing, and a big metal lock held them in place. My wife turned to me in her blood-soaked nightgown. She wore a fake smile on her face, so depraved that she barely looked human. Honey? I choked. Where are the kids? She started laughing, giggling at first, but it soon turned into a full-blown meltdown of laughter. Oh, she laughed. I'm sure they're around here somewhere. Yo! Okay, wait, hold on. So, you get married young, impulsively, so I'm assuming you're very deeply in love with this woman. And then, you get busy, and out of nowhere, kids come and you decide to keep them. Wife is stressing, and you couldn't see any signs of her genuinely being a psychotic woman until it took her murdering your kids. That is so crazy. Imagine stressing about work 24/7 and then you literally walk into your house and your wife straight up killed your kids. That is, whoa! I don't even know what to say about that. I think in that moment, I don't know if I'm going to call the cops or... Because at that point, I'm just worried I'm going to get killed next. If you're capable of killing your own children, what's stopping you from killing someone who's not technically blood relative to you? You know what I mean? Gosh. Anyways, let's get into the next story. I never thought I'd be so grateful to be a parent. For a long time, I viewed parenthood as a curse. 18 years of your life being borrowed. That's why I swore I'd never have any kids. Unfortunately, life has a way of giving you exactly what you didn't ask for. And for me, that happened when I myself was a child. I was 17 when my little Joshie was born. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, a winter baby. I don't know, I guess I was just scared at the time. Scared of all the responsibility, sure, but more than anything, I was scared that I didn't have what it takes. Me and his mother had only been together for 2 years before we made the same dumb mistake as every other teen parent in the country. I thought about what this meant for me, what I was going to have to become in order to support this new life outside of my own. I was almost reluctant when I had to start working. Maybe reluctant isn't the word for it. The word I'm looking for is probably closer to resentful. Of course, that feeling only lasted for around a year or two. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it followed me around all the way up the corporate ladder, as I went from employee to supervisor all the way up to district manager. I didn't get the pride of knowing I'd done it for myself. I hadn't made something out of myself because that's what I wanted for myself. I did it because I needed to. I may have been resentful, but I was not the kind of person to let my baby starve. I wasn't the kind of person to not show up for my baby's mother. Great, very honorable person out of discipline, right? You don't have to like everything you do in life, but as long as you can acknowledge what you need to do, that shows a lot of strength inside, in my opinion. Even still, she noticed how withdrawn I'd become, how she was the only one singing his lullabies at night, tucking him in, kissing his forehead, comforting him. For a long time, the extent of parental bonding between me and my son was when I gave him the occasional bath or when I changed his diapers. In my mind, my only job was to keep food on the table. I drove a wedge between me and his mom this way. During those early years, we found ourselves fighting nearly every night. She demanded a kind of presence that I just didn't believe I possessed. Of course, Joshua was there to witness all of it. The screaming, fits, the wall punching, the kind of things that no toddler should see. It got to a point where we didn't even know what we were doing anymore, why we were even still together. I guess the answer was Joshie, because despite what I felt, there was still a part of me deep down that wanted to give my son a good life. Even if I didn't know how to show up for him emotionally, I could still fight to make sure he lived comfortably. When his mother died, though, it was like, whoa, wait, hold on, backtrack, wait, whoa. When his mother died, hello? Is this not the little baby? Oh, that's so unfortunate. When his mother died, though, it was like I became numb to absolutely everything. Justifiable. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. No superficial hope of maybe someday being an actual functioning family after I stopped being so pathetic. God made sure that I learned my lesson in the most eye-opening way imaginable, because I guess now he's always going to live with that constant regret of not satisfying his wife in terms of responsibility, I guess, or in terms of passion to the relationship between all of them. Not a good feeling. It wasn't sudden, it wasn't some unexpected tragic loss. We had to watch her as she dwindled away more and more every day. Aww. Watch her cheeks sink in and darken. Watch her lose her hair, lose her weight. We watched her take her last breath on that hospital bed before the beep of her heart monitor left both of us crying our eyes out. Wow. Joshua was only 6 years old when she passed, too young to understand the concept of death. We'll come back to that. But old enough to know that his mom wasn't there anymore. Old enough to feel the pain that came with knowing she wouldn't be coming back. And you know what I did? I made him sleep alone, in the dark, in his own bed. Yo, ban this guy! God, I know. I fucking know. I'm a terrible person, but fuck me. I am trying, okay? I'm trying to do better. For 6 weeks, I made him sleep alone in that room. I pretended to be asleep when he asked to sleep in my bed. I outright refused him sometimes. I was afraid of needing him, afraid he'd need me too. I learned a lot during those 6 weeks. I was in the dark too. The amount of responsibility that now fell on my shoulders was so overwhelming that it numbed me. I couldn't fail if I didn't try. That's what I truly believed. What I had convinced myself of in a state of vulnerability and exhaustion. But I was failing. I had, without question, failed harder than I had ever failed in my entire life. And when I came to that realization, I made a vow to myself to step up, to be the man that my son needed me to be. I started letting him sleep in my bed routinely, singing to him every night, rocking him in my lap until little snores escaped his throat. Okay, a whole lot to untangle here. So, okay, he was trying to keep up financially, trying to be there for his family to provide for them, but as a result, he wasn't there emotionally, and he now holds a lot of regret because he had to watch his wife, I'm assuming, die of an illness, and after that, it was just him and his son, and I guess he projected his sorrow by not just isolating himself from the people around him, but from his son, probably because when he thinks of his son, he thinks of the wife that is now gone. Understandable, but still an absolute tragedy that you are acknowledging how you literally ignored the only essence of your wife that's left, and let alone your own child, right? And then they go on to say that he couldn't really understand the concept of death. Now, for 6 year olds, okay, I mean, if someone disappears, that's kind of how it is. It's going to suck. But I guess you don't have as deep of an emotional connection as you do with your parents compared to when Joshi will probably be older, because instead of having a bulk of memories and experiences with these people, he kind of just has a big blur associated with them. It's like he goes home, there's my mom, I'm sad, there's my mom. So it's more of that feeling of absence that is going to, deprive him. It is going to eat away at him. And on top of that, the only piece of familiarity that he has is completely ignoring him. So I wouldn't say he doesn't understand the concept of death, but his intake of that concept is completely different. This was a tragic story. My gosh. Okay, we got a little short one here. My grandfather had Alzheimer's for the last few years of his life. Some days he remembered everything. Some days nothing at all. Whenever I visited, I'd introduce myself again and again. Hi, Dadu, it's me. So I'm assuming that's what they call their grandfather. Most days, he'd smile politely, like I was a kind stranger. That right there would absolutely annihilate me if I was remotely close to this family member, because in my experience, one of my grandparents is suffering from Alzheimer's, but they live across the world and I've only met them a handful of times. So if they did magically just move to Canada right now where I am, I don't think it would hurt me as it's probably hurting this person. Like, it would be uncomfortable and it would kind of suck. No, it would suck, but obviously, it's hard to feel remorse and negative emotions for someone that you are so unfamiliar with. It's more of obligation in my head, right? I know I'm related to them. Anyways, going on a tangent. One evening, I was leaving after another visit where he barely spoke. I bent down and said, "Bye, Dadu." As I turned to go, he grabbed my hand tightly. He looked straight at me, clearer than he had in months, and said, "You came every time, even when I forgot you. That means I must have done something right." Then he smiled and let go. He passed away the same night. Okay, so the first one was diabolical. The second one was sad. This one escalated in genuinely 5 words. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. I'm just gonna read out the title of this one. I cheated on my ex 5 times. After promising to stop, he would even beg me to stop cheating. That is genuinely just the title. Here's the rundown. Me and my ex got together November 2023. Everything was going well. We had a short break from April to late May of 2024 and then got back together. I was involved with my old flame and he caught me in July. Okay, so they got together in 2023, broke up kind of mid 2024, and then, so what's the, in my ex or the short, right? Okay, so I can't figure out the genders here, but I guess the original poster, they're saying that they were caught cheating right after they recommenced their relationship. So they went on a date with a guy they met in a CVS drive-thru, and he caught me. Okay, I see. So this is a woman. I then proceeded to still be involved with my old flame all through July. I sent nudes, and he sent nudes to me. My boyfriend caught me numerous times texting the old flame, but forgave me. Okay, first of all, I don't care how in love you are, she's obviously banned, but he, come on, bro. Come on, we have to have some respect for ourselves at some point. I even made a mistake by swearing on his life I'll stop cheating. Well, there goes his life. I kept texting this old flame, and on my ex's B-day, I said some inappropriate things. My ex caught me again. Huh? My ex changed toward me all through August 2024. He was emotionally distant. I grew fed up and left him for the old flame because I felt unloved September of 2024. Well, obviously, so you cheated on him once, right after you got back together, swore you'd stop, then said the same things again? Oh no, so you got caught cheating right after you got back together, and then you proceeded to do the same thing after apologizing and all that. And this was like not just borderline cheating, you're sending nudes, that's wild. Anyways, we were on and off through September and October of 2024. I even dumped my ex one weekend to go have sex with the old flick. Huh? So throughout September to October, you said, all right, look, I know we kind of getting things back together now. I'm cool with you for this weekend. I'm gonna head back to my old bay because I know where home is. That's wild. My birthday weekend, I cheated on my ex with this old flame at a hotel. My boyfriend found out because my friend accidentally posted a video showcasing the guy. We fell out. My ex forgave me again. We got back together mid-November. January 2025, I lost my job, so I started to strip in Northern Virginia. Like, you just became a stripper? Oh my gosh. I ended up meeting up with my ex-boyfriend from high school and smoking weed. The next weekend, we had sex in the back of his car. My boyfriend found out while we were at my mom's house. We immediately left and went back to my house. My boyfriend stayed the night, but I left him by myself to go smoke with my male friend. Whoa. Okay, so instance 1. So I'm assuming you had an old talking stage. You cheated on your boyfriend initially with this guy right after you got back together. You proceeded to go back and forth with him even after you got back with your boyfriend. Then your birthday of the following year, you hit up that same guy, and then you broke up again. Following year, you got back together and you lost your job. So the obvious solution is to become a stripper. Then you met up with your other ex from high school, smoked weed with them, then cracked them in the back of your car. And then when your boyfriend found out, while you were at your own mom's house, you left, went home. Your boyfriend stayed the night, but you left him on his own so you could go smoke weed with your male friend. Oh my gosh. We stayed together. Things were good until he found videos in my phone of me and my male friend having an interaction. My male friend sucked on my breast and licked my ear. He still showed me grace and stayed. I will admit that I also hit him twice in 2024. Yo. There were times where he would beg me to come while I was with my male friend, and I would just ignore and stay another hour or two. I let a customer at the club fist me for an extra $100. My ex knew after we had sex and he asked me. I was honest about it. Our last incident we had was I went and got Chipotle, and while we were driving at a stoplight, I placed a bowl of Chipotle on the dashboard. He pulls off the bowl, slides off onto the floor in his car. Okay, so you left it there and an accident happened. Cool. I will admit I lost my marbles. I told him to pull over into an Arby's parking lot. Arby's sucks, by the way. I tossed the bowl in the parking lot, and then in my anger, I accidentally spilled weed ash on his seat. Yo, okay. I don't know what type of Greek goddess this woman is, but free this guy, bro. He was still calm. He lost his marbles after I blamed him for my bowl. Why did you do that? I started yelling, then he started yelling, and he called me a stupid B word and smacked the cup out of my hand. We went home and I moved out. Fast forward to the present day. He now has a disdain for me. What do I do? Yo, there's nothing to do. Free this guy. I would not wish any of those circumstances on my worst enemy. He got cheated on 5 times and his car seat got ruined. He genuinely can't win. Whoever this guy is, whoever he ends up marrying, won the lottery. This guy's loyalty is absolutely unparalleled with anything I've ever heard of. Only problem I could see is he's clearly never going to get over this woman. I mean, if all this happened to him, he is eternally screwed for anyone else he has romantic interest in, let alone the fact that he probably won't be romantically interested to the same extent, or he won't get that same attachment. That is, Lord. Final story. I'm feeling immense guilt for cheating on my now ex-boyfriend and lying to him repeatedly until I got caught. We met through Reddit and had a long-distance relationship. But from the very start, I built the relationship on lies. Alright. I had casual hookups just 2 days before we started dating. Okay, I mean, morally incorrect, but not technically. I don't know, it depends on if you guys were exclusive. I told him I was out of the pattern since a year. Okay, so you straight up lied. You said you hadn't hooked up with anyone in a year as of you getting together. Okay, I see. The next day, an old friend came over to my place, and after we had drinks, he tried to touch me inappropriately. While it upset me, it wasn't the first time something like this had happened. So I forgave him after he apologized and acted normally to him post that. Okay. So you had this friend, he made you a little uncomfortable, but you shut it down after you got with him. Okay, cool, because after you were in a relationship at this time. However, I couldn't shake off the feeling, and I ended up exaggerating the story to my boyfriend, saying I had been sexually assaulted at a friend's place. Okay. I added a lot of fake details, like being drugged, multiple men being involved, something being inserted in my private parts, me reporting it. This is the type of things that genuinely just ruin your life. If she included names when explaining this to her boyfriend, everything could have gone terribly. Now, he was deeply concerned and carried the emotional weight of this event throughout our relationship. Looking back, I see that I was living a lifestyle that normalized my behavior, and I kept lying to myself, pretending I'd moved on from that mindset. Even though I genuinely developed feelings for him and started dreaming of a future together, I still found myself seeking hookups occasionally because of my addiction to it, though I did not do them for a while. On top of that, I'm a pathological liar, and I would fabricate stories and opinions for no reason. I would try to project moral superiority of my opinions, which I myself never followed. My ex was the complete opposite. Honest and transparent, but I never appreciated him, only realizing that I had after he left. I cheated on him some days after our first in-person meeting and wasn't intoxicated when I made the decision. Recently, we spent a few days together. Recently, you're still together after that? And he started feeling suspicious of my aggressive behavior when he brought up my past lifestyle choices. He tried checking my phone, and I panicked, deleting everything. He still gave me the benefit of a doubt, thinking it was anxiety. He read some old vulgar chats I had, and while he was disgusted by them, he did accept me as I am. Yo, whoever these men, I'm gonna give you guys a hug. Then he came across questions about the night I lied about being assaulted, seeing the location history. I gave him the access consumed by guilt of deleting everything. Okay, so he has full access to your phone, so he backtracked. I made up more stories, but he eventually pieced together the truth through secondary sources like friends' chats, and then I admitted. I cried and apologized, and he even tried to ease my guilt despite being so hurt. Oh my gosh. But soon after, he discovered another instance of cheating. Again, I lied articulately until I couldn't anymore. At one point, my lies made him start questioning himself. He revealed me afterwards that he would have accepted me in case I told the truth. Honestly, I didn't even feel guilty for my actions until I was caught and could see his pain. After days of me trying to convince him to stay in contact, I continued lying, even about the events of the day I cheated, mostly unconsciously. I finally broke down and sent him an email confessing everything, but he had already lost trust in me. That's my king. I took high moral grounds in front of him for sending the truth finally, being the defensive self I am. Okay, so you're saying, look, you should appreciate me for saying the truth. D1 manipulation. Despite my apologies and attempts to manipulate him to give me my hope after I changed, even with suicide threats, he made it clear he wasn't coming back after a point accepting that he believes I was only pretending to change. He told me he couldn't believe anything I said anymore. It makes sense. And I kept trying to rationalize my lies, which only made things worse. People around me validated my behavior that made me confused even after being guilty about what I had done. So, okay, so we can't completely blame this woman. She's a psycho, but she's surrounded by psychos too, so nothing's gonna get better. He also started doubting some of the details I shared in my confession. He explicitly told me not to try rationalizing things because he can no longer trust anything I said at base value. He mentioned that the story about my friend touching me inappropriately didn't add up to him, and that he thinks I am hiding some details still to save my image. That isn't true, but I understand that he can't trust me even if he wanted to. So now he's backtracking. He's like, look, maybe he didn't do anything in the first place, and now you're just trying to make him sound bad. Okay, so the boyfriend's sus of everything. Despite this, I kept trying to justify the truth in the same way I had justified my lies. At one point, I even told him that what he believed was true just to calm him down, and later admitted I had lied again to keep the peace. Even small inconsistencies in my behavior would seem like a lie to him, but he would still not cut contact because I was going through a difficult phase and he believed I have hopes to get better and at least be an acquaintance. So at this point, he's like, I have so much love for you, but you are genuinely not okay. So we can just be gang because you are genuinely not okay. Now, I have to admit, I rarely considered things from his perspective. I lied constantly to him and honestly to many people in my life before too. It is a pattern. I also tried justifying my lies by saying I felt insecure in the relationship and that lying after guilt is normal because my psychiatrist said so. He told me I should go to therapy for being a sociopath and a narcissist. As expected, he eventually had enough and cut all contact with me. He now believes I was still being dishonest till the end, and I am a slut not wanting to change who doesn't even regret her actions. I don't think that's true, but honestly understand where he comes from. Since then, I've been crying every day and night, feeling completely lost. I've tried therapy and medication, but nothing seems to help. I know I've caused him deep pain, especially since he had already been cheated on in a previous 9-year relationship and you did this to him? I feel awful for what I've done and shouldn't forgive myself my whole life, but I sincerely want to make up for my mistakes and worship the floor he walks on to make it up to him. Seems like that isn't an option anymore. I also don't know if I have hopes of getting better. Please help anyone if you can. Gosh. Wow, the story just got progressively more insane. Okay, well, clearly this is an example of not just a bad person, but someone who's clearly not mentally sane. The fact you can sit here and confidently write all these crazy things like, I'm a pathological liar, I manipulated him, I did this, and you're not even trying to defend yourself anymore, proves that you've come like a long way in terms of growth, right? Now, obviously, compared to most people's situations, your timeline is about quadruple the length. So you coming a long way is like 1/4 of that. So as long as you keep trekking along, hopefully one day you'll be cool. But no, we definitely need to put you in a mental hospital. We need a lot of medication. Maybe need to tie you up. But, I think you'll be okay eventually. Now, I'm worried about that guy because the way you're treating him, I would genuinely be terrified to be in the same vehicle, the same room as you. Wow. But these men are just so in love. And that's something I can understand, attachment. But normally it's a guy traumatizing a woman, as conventional as it gets. So it's a little refreshing to know that I've got some of my lover boys still out there. Either way, if you got to the end of this video, much appreciated. Let me know if you liked this style, and I'll continue to read some more. Feel free to drop a like and subscribe. All right, I'll see you guys later.